He stepped into a derelict ship drifting silently in the emptiness of space. Rusted metal groaned under his weight, and the walls were covered in strange, alien markings. A chill ran down his spine. Suddenly, a soft, cold laughter echoed from somewhere deep within the ship. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago," a female voice said. Jarek froze. The voice seemed to reach into his very soul, but instead of running, he stepped forward. He had to know why this ship called to him. The ship reminded him of something, long lost. The silence, the shadows, the feeling of emptiness. It was the same feeling he had when Mara moved away from Earth. They had been close, closer than anyone else. She had been his anchor, his friend, and for a long time the person who understood him best. But now she was gone, far away, living in a city filled with strangers, and he had no way to reach her easily. Jarek wandered down the narrow corridor. The metal walls reflected the dim light of his suit, making long, shifting shadows. He imagined Mara here beside him. She would have laughed at his careful steps, teasing him for being scared of the old ship. He smiled faintly, and the warmth of that memory made him feel a little braver. Even though she was far away, he could still remember her voice, her laugh, the way she always believed in him. The voice returned, soft and mocking. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." Jarek shivered but kept moving. The ship was old, but it held secrets, and secrets reminded him of Mara. She had always loved mysteries. They used to solve puzzles together, creating little games out of ordinary life. He wondered if she ever thought of him when she solved puzzles in her new city, if she missed the way they used to talk for hours about nothing and everything. He came to a large chamber. Broken consoles lay scattered across the floor. Strange lights flickered on the walls. Jarek knelt to examine one. As he brushed dust from the controls, he remembered the last message Mara had sent him before she left. "Don't forget me." He had promised he wouldn't, but the distance had grown. Calls were missed, letters went unanswered, and now weeks had passed with nothing. The thought made him ache. He wanted to reconnect but didn't know how. "Maybe I am too late," he whispered to the empty room. The voice echoed again, faintly. "Too late." Jarek's heart raced, but he pressed on. Humans were never made to give up. Even when everything seemed impossible, even when the dark seemed endless, humans found a way to move forward. That was what Mara had taught him. Hope was never wasted, even when the outcome was uncertain. He wandered further, finding more alien technology. Despite the fear, he felt a spark of determination. He would not let fear stop him, just as he would not let distance end his friendship with Mara. Every step reminded him of human resilience. He had survived harsh planets before, faced storms in space, and solved problems that seemed impossible. This ship, like the distance between him and Mara, was a challenge, but he was not one to turn back. Jarek paused by a shattered window and looked out into the void. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction. He imagined Mara somewhere out there, staring at her own sky, feeling lonely, and hoping someone remembered her. He realized then that the void between them didn't have to be empty. They could bridge it like he bridged the dark corridors of this abandoned ship. If he kept trying, he could reach her no matter the distance. The voice laughed again, louder this time. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." Jarek turned, expecting to see a monster, but the corridor was empty. He realized that the voice was not entirely real. It was a reflection of fear itself. The voice represented every doubt he had felt since Mara left, every worry that he had missed his chance, every thought that maybe the bond they shared had faded. And yet, he was still moving forward. He was still trying. He touched one of the consoles, and it flickered to life. Lights illuminated the chamber, showing the path ahead. Jarek smiled. Even in the face of fear, there was a way forward. Even in the darkness, there was light. That was the human way. That was how he would reach Mara, step by step, no matter how long it took, no matter how many empty corridors lay between them. As he moved deeper into the ship, the shadows seemed less threatening. The laughter no longer frightened him. It reminded him that fear was natural but courage was stronger, and humans were nothing if not courageous. He whispered into the silence, "I'll find you, Mara, no matter how far." The words felt like a promise, a bridge across the distance that separated them. Finally, he reached a large chamber at the center of the ship. Strange machinery hummed and the walls pulsed faintly with light. The voice returned, softer now, almost admiring. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." Jarek stood tall. He was not the same person as before. He was human, yes, fragile, small, and vulnerable. But he was strong in ways the voice could not understand. His heart carried hope, his mind carried determination, and his spirit carried resilience. He stepped forward, into the center of the chamber, and for the first time he felt no fear. The laughter faded, replaced by silence, and the ship seemed to accept him. He knew the distance to Mara was still vast, but he also knew humans had a way of surviving, of connecting, of bridging what seemed impossible. One step at a time, he would find her. One step at a time, he would reach across the void, and as he moved deeper into the ship, the words lingered not as a threat, but as a challenge. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." Jarek smiled softly. He would not be eaten. Humans endured. Humans persevered. And he, a human, would carry hope across the stars to the person he cared about most. Jarek stood in the center of the chamber, staring at the strange machinery that pulsed with a dim, alien light. The silence was thick, almost alive, and the voice from before, "I ate the last one like you centuries ago," had faded, leaving only a quiet hum of the ship. His mind, however, was full of Mara. He thought of her long brown hair, her bright laugh, the way she always challenged him to think harder and dream bigger. She was so far away now. Every day apart felt like a small weight on his chest. He touched a panel on the nearest console, running his fingers over the cold, smooth surface. Images flickered to life, strange alien symbols and faint holograms. Among the flickering images he saw a pattern, something that reminded him of Mara's handwriting. It was impossible, yet it felt familiar. He paused, thinking about all the times they had solved puzzles together on Earth, laughing when the answers surprised them. He smiled faintly. Maybe this ship, like the distance between them, was just another puzzle to solve. The emptiness of the corridors pressed on him. Every shadow made him think of all the moments he missed with Mara. He remembered their last conversation before she moved. Her eyes had been bright but tinged with sadness. "Don't forget me, Jarek, promise me," she had said. And he had promised. Yet now, with weeks passing without a call or message, he felt that promise slipping. He longed to reach her, to hear her voice again, to laugh together over something small and meaningless, but he did not know how. The distance felt like a vast void. Still, Jarek did not stop moving. That was the human way, pushing forward, even when the path is uncertain. He pressed deeper into the ship, navigating narrow passages and climbing over broken machinery. The dim lights cast strange shadows, and the walls seemed to shift as he moved. He imagined Mara beside him, pointing out a safe path or teasing him for being afraid. The memory gave him courage. Even alone, humans could endure. Humans could survive. Humans could find a way. As he walked, he noticed signs of previous explorers, small marks etched into the walls, tools left behind, scraps of alien materials. The echoes of their attempts reminded him of the times he had tried to reconnect with Mara, only to be blocked by distance or misunderstanding. He felt a pang of sorrow, but also a spark of hope. Each mark left by others was a reminder that survival required persistence. He too would persist. He would not let time or space erase what they had. The ship groaned and shifted as if reacting to his presence. The air smelled of dust and metal. For a moment, Jarek felt utterly alone, a tiny human in a massive ancient vessel. But he reminded himself that humans were resilient. They had endured countless challenges on Earth, storms, disasters, and endless nights of uncertainty. And here he was, in the heart of an alien ship still moving forward. If humans could endure so much on their own planet, he could endure this, and he could endure the distance from Mara. He came to a room filled with broken screens and flickering holograms. One of the panels suddenly lit up fully, casting a soft glow on his face. On the screen he saw what looked like a star map. His heart leapt. Perhaps it was a clue to the ship's origin, or perhaps, in some strange way, it reminded him of Mara's city, far away across the stars. He felt a surge of determination. He could not control the distance between them, but he could control his own effort. He would find a way to reconnect. Humans never gave up, and he would prove that. Suddenly the voice returned, faint and almost teasing. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." Jarek froze. The voice was a shadow of his fear, echoing the doubts he felt about Mara. What if she had forgotten him? What if the bond they shared had faded? He felt the weight of loneliness pressing down, and yet he refused to let it defeat him. Humans had hope, and hope could overcome even the oldest fears. He took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "I will not let the distance win." He pressed on through twisting corridors. He found more signs of alien life, strange carvings, faint smells, and the occasional flicker of movement. Each encounter tested his resolve, but it also reminded him of humanity's strength. Even in the face of ancient dangers, humans persevered, and so could he. He would bridge the distance with Mara, just as he navigated the challenges of this ship. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time felt strange aboard the derelict vessel. But Jarek continued, driven by memories of Mara and the promise he had made. Every step he took was a small victory. Every solved puzzle, every avoided trap, was a reminder that humans could endure the impossible. Even if Mara was light years away, even if the gap between them seemed endless, he could still reach her. He would find a way. He had to. Finally, he reached a small observation deck. Through cracked windows, he saw stars stretching endlessly. The emptiness reminded him of the quiet nights on Earth when he and Mara had shared dreams, hopes, and plans for the future. The longing in his chest did not weaken him. It strengthened him. He was human, small, but capable of incredible determination. He would not let the distance define their bond. Jarek pressed his hand against the glass and spoke softly. "Mara, I will find a way to reach you, no matter how far, no matter how long." The voice in the ship did not answer, but the silence now felt different, less threatening, almost encouraging. He realized the voice had been a test, a challenge, and he, a human, had passed. His courage, his hope, and his resolve had carried him through. He took one last look at the stars outside. Somewhere out there, Mara might be thinking of him too. The thought brought warmth to his chest. He might be far from her, but humans were capable of bridging distances, overcoming fear, and holding on to hope. And so, with renewed determination, he moved deeper into the ship, ready to face whatever came next. The female voice laughed once more, soft and fading. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." But Jarek did not flinch. Instead, he smiled, feeling the pulse of life, courage, and hope within him. Humans had endured far greater challenges. Humans had hope. Humans had the will to reconnect, to survive, to persevere, and he, a human, would carry that spirit to the one he cared about. Jarek stepped deeper into the derelict ship, his boots echoing against the metal floors. Every corridor seemed to twist and shift as if the ship itself were alive. The strange markings on the walls glimmered faintly, pulsing with an energy he could not understand. He paused, running his hand over the alien symbols, feeling a strange connection to the past explorers who had walked these halls. They had left traces of themselves, and now he was leaving his own, proof that humans could endure even in the darkest places. As he moved forward, the voice returned, low and haunting. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." This time, it felt closer, surrounding him, whispering from every corner. Jarek's chest tightened, but he remembered Mara. He thought of the last time they had laughed together, joking about silly things, sharing dreams they had never spoken aloud. She was far away now, and the distance was heavy, but he refused to let it crush him. Humans could endure loneliness, fear, and uncertainty. Humans could adapt, survive, and keep hope alive. A door at the end of the corridor creaked open as he approached. Beyond it lay a large chamber filled with floating platforms, glowing alien orbs, and walls covered in strange symbols that shifted when he tried to focus on them. It looked impossible to navigate. The voice chuckled, echoing from the high ceiling. "You will not reach the center, just as you cannot reach her." Jarek clenched his fists. That was the challenge. Humans were never built to accept defeat quietly. Even when odds were against them, humans pressed forward. Even when the path was unclear, they found a way. He reminded himself of Mara's voice in his memory. "Never give up, Jarek. You are stronger than you think." The words filled him with warmth. They were not just memories, they were guidance, a light in the darkness. He studied the room carefully. The platforms floated in a pattern, shifting slowly, but he noticed a rhythm. Using his observation and reasoning, he timed his steps carefully, jumping from one to another. His heart raced as the orbs glimmered and shifted around him. Each leap was a small victory. He imagined Mara cheering him on, laughing at his careful but determined steps. Even in fear, humans could find clever solutions. That was their strength. Midway across, one of the platforms wobbled violently, sending him stumbling. He grabbed the edge, narrowly holding on. For a moment, panic threatened to overtake him, but he steadied himself. Fear was natural, he realized, but humans had the power to overcome it. Humans were not defined by the dangers they faced, but by the courage they displayed when confronting them. He drew a deep breath and stepped forward again. While moving through the chamber, his mind wandered to Mara. She had moved away to follow her dreams, to face her own challenges. They had grown apart physically, but the bond they shared could survive distance if he did not give up. Humans were built for resilience, for connection, for hope. That thought steadied him. He would find a way to reach her, just as he was finding a way through this impossible chamber. At the far side, he paused to catch his breath. The voice returned, but this time it sounded almost curious. "You persist, despite knowing the danger." Jarek's lips curved into a faint smile. That was humanity. Humans persisted even when the odds seemed impossible. Humans adapted, learned, and kept moving forward. He had survived worse storms on Earth, worse nights alone in freezing cold, and this ship would be no different. He continued, moving past glowing walls and strange machinery. Shadows danced around him, sometimes taking shapes that looked almost human. For a moment, he wondered if the ship was trying to trick him, trying to make him doubt himself. But doubt had no place here. Humans relied on their wits and determination. He remembered Mara's words again. "You can face anything, Jarek." That memory became a shield against the fear creeping into his mind. Finally, he reached a section of the ship that seemed different. The air was warmer, the lights steadier, and the corridors wider. A faint hum of life vibrated through the floor. He sensed that he was getting closer to the center, closer to whatever secret this ship held. And in that realization, he thought of Mara again. Distance could not break bonds when hearts were determined. He might not yet know how to reconnect with her, but he knew he would find a way. As he moved forward, he noticed a panel with glowing symbols. He pressed his hand against it, and a holographic image flickered to life, shapes and lights forming a puzzle. He studied it carefully. The voice was gone for now, replaced by the quiet hum of machinery. Jarek focused, using logic and intuition. Slowly, the pattern began to make sense. Step by step, piece by piece, he unlocked the mechanism. This small victory reminded him of all the ways humans could solve problems, even against overwhelming odds. When the mechanism clicked and the panel lit fully, a doorway opened, leading to a small chamber filled with soft blue light. The voice returned one last time, this time quieter, almost defeated. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." Jarek stepped into the chamber, smiling faintly. He had faced fear, He had endured loneliness, and he had solved the impossible. Humanity's strength, courage, perseverance, and hope had carried him this far. In the center of the chamber, a small window looked out into space. He pressed his hand to the glass, thinking of Mara. She was far away, yes, but the distance was not infinite. Hope and determination could bridge it. Humans could endure time, space, and uncertainty, and he would endure until he found a way to reconnect with the person he cared about most. Jarek whispered softly, almost to himself, "I will reach her, no matter how far, no matter what stands in my way." The blue light reflected in his eyes, and for the first time in days he felt a quiet confidence. Fear was still there, but it no longer ruled him. The voice, the shadows, the darkness, all of it had tested him. And humans had passed. Humans had persevered. The chamber hummed softly, as if acknowledging him. Jarek took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next in the ship. The corridors ahead might twist, shadows might shift, and the voice might return. But he knew one thing: the human spirit, fueled by hope and love, could survive anything. Even the vast distance between him and Mara could be bridged. And so, with each careful step, each thoughtful decision, and each memory of Mara guiding him, Jarek moved forward into the heart of the derelict ship. The voice's laughter faded into silence. He had survived its challenges so far, proving that humans could endure, adapt, and overcome. And somewhere far across the stars, Mara was out there too, waiting for a connection that he was determined to restore. Jarek moved carefully through the glowing corridors of the derelict ship. Every step he took echoed like a drumbeat in the silence. The shadows on the walls seemed to twist, forming shapes that vanished when he looked directly at them. He remembered Mara again, her voice, her laugh, the way she always made even the hardest days brighter. She had moved so far away, and it hurt him to think of the distance, but he could not give up. Humans endured even in loneliness. Humans found hope in the smallest things. As he rounded a corner, the eerie female voice returned. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago," it whispered, seeming to come from every direction at once. Jarek froze for a moment. Fear wanted to take hold of him, but he forced himself to breathe slowly. Humans were not built to surrender to fear. They adapted, they learned, they survived. And he was human. He pressed forward. The corridor ended at a wide chamber. Strange alien devices hung from the ceiling, spinning slowly. Lights glimmered across the floor, casting shifting patterns that made the space feel alive. Somewhere in the distance, he thought he saw a figure move, a shadow that was faster than his eyes could follow. His pulse quickened. The ship was testing him, trying to make him doubt himself. But doubt was a human tool, not a prison. Humans could overcome it, and he would. He took a deep breath and studied the room. The figure appeared again, just for a moment, and vanished into the shadows. Jarek realized it was trying to scare him, to make him turn back. But he remembered Mara. The distance between them felt like a challenge of the same kind, long, confusing, and frightening, but not impossible. If humans could solve puzzles and survive dangers here, he could find a way to reconnect with her. The thought filled him with determination. He moved carefully across the chamber, using the shadows and floating alien machinery for cover. Each step was deliberate. He paused at a console and brushed off layers of dust, revealing glowing alien symbols. The patterns were complex, but he began to recognize a rhythm, a logic in the chaos. His human mind worked quickly, piecing together patterns where others might see only confusion. Humans had intelligence, curiosity, and perseverance. He had all three, and they were his greatest weapons. The shadow moved again, closer this time. He could hear the soft echo of a laugh, low and mocking. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago," it said again. Jarek held his ground. He did not run. Humans had survived storms, disasters, and battles that seemed impossible. This ship, and whatever haunted it, was another obstacle to overcome. He stepped forward, hand hovering over the console, and activated a panel. The machinery shifted, forming a protective barrier between him and the shadow. Jarek allowed himself a small smile. Strategy was human. Humans could use their brains to turn fear into advantage. He had done it countless times on Earth, and now in space, it was no different. He reminded himself that Mara had always believed in him, even when he doubted himself. Her memory was a guiding light, a spark that gave him courage when the darkness tried to claim him. He pressed onward, deeper into the ship. The next room was darker. Strange liquid covered the floor, glowing faintly under his boots. Strange noises echoed from the walls, soft whispers, distant footsteps, or perhaps just the wind moving through the ship. Jarek kept moving. Fear was present, but it was a tool, not a master. Humans could endure. Humans could see hope in even the darkest places. The thought of Mara waiting somewhere far away reminded him of why he could not stop. He had to keep going no matter the danger. Suddenly a flash of movement appeared before him, a creature humanoid but strange, its skin shimmering like liquid metal. It lunged at him, but Jarek leapt aside just in time. The ship itself seemed to tremble, groaning in anger at his intrusion. Jarek's heart pounded, but he stayed focused. Fear was natural, but human courage was stronger. He knew that humans could survive encounters with things far larger and stronger, as long as they kept thinking and moved with determination. He used the shifting corridors and alien machinery to his advantage, dodging the creature and luring it into a trap of his own making. He activated panels, triggered moving platforms, and used the ship's own systems to block its path. Each successful maneuver reminded him that humans had a unique power, the ability to adapt, to solve problems, and to survive. Even though he was small compared to the creature, his mind and courage were bigger than any obstacle. When the creature finally retreated into the shadows, the echo of the voice came once more, softer now. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." Jarek did not flinch. He stood tall, thinking of Mara and the long distance between them. She had moved far away. Yet he believed that humans could bridge any distance with determination, intelligence, and hope. If he could survive this ancient ship and its challenges, he could survive the distance and find a way to reconnect with her. He paused for a moment, catching his breath. The ship was quiet now, but he knew it was not over. More challenges would come, more shadows would appear, and the voice would return. But Jarek felt stronger, braver, more certain than before. Humans had endured worse. Humans had faced dangers that seemed impossible, and humans had hope. The kind of hope that could span light years and still reach someone they cared about. Jarek looked out a cracked window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Mara lived her life, facing her own challenges and fears. The thought made him feel closer to her, even across the vast emptiness of space. He pressed his hand against the glass and whispered, "I will find you. No matter the distance, no matter the obstacles." Humans had hope. Humans had courage. Humans had the will to endure. And he would carry all of that with him, step by step, through every corridor, every shadow, until he reached her. He turned and continued moving forward. Each step was careful, precise, and full of purpose. The creature might return. The voice might echo again. The ship might twist and trap him. But Jarek was human. He would not give up. He would continue for Mara, for hope, and for the enduring spirit of humanity that refused to be broken. And as he disappeared into the shadows of the derelict ship, the voice whispered one final time for now, "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." Jarek did not answer with fear. He answered with resolve. Humans endured. Humans survived. Humans carried hope across darkness and distance. And he, a human, would carry that hope across the stars to the one he cared about most. Jarek pressed onward through the derelict ship, the echoes of his boots bouncing along the empty metal corridors. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of rust and alien energy. Every corner seemed to whisper secrets he could not yet understand. The female voice from before had faded, but its presence lingered in his mind, a reminder of the dangers ahead. "I ate the last one like you centuries ago." it had said. Even though it haunted him, it also spurred him onward. Humans did not retreat from challenges. They faced them. Humans endured. Humans survived. He paused for a moment to catch his breath. Memories of Mara filled his mind. She had moved so far away, chasing her dreams and leaving him behind. Every day apart had been heavy on his heart. He longed to hear her voice, to share laughter and stories like they once had. Yet the distance did not weaken him. Humans had hope. Humans could persist despite distance, despite fear. He had to keep going. If he could survive this ancient ship, he could find a way to reconnect with Mara. The corridor ahead widened, opening into a vast chamber filled with strange, floating machinery. Lights hovered in the air, pulsing like the heartbeat of the ship itself. Shadows danced along the walls, forming shapes that seemed almost human. Jarek stepped cautiously, studying the space. He could feel the presence of the entity that had haunted his journey. It was watching him, testing him. Fear pressed on him like a heavy weight, but he reminded himself, humans were capable of great courage, even in the face of things far stronger than themselves. He moved toward a console in the center of the chamber. The symbols on the panel shifted as he approached, forming patterns that seemed almost alive. Jarek studied them, using his human logic and intuition. The patterns reminded him of the puzzles he had solved with Mara on Earth, the small games they had made out of ordinary things. That memory gave him strength. Humans use their intelligence to survive, to overcome, to adapt. He could do the same now. Then she saw the fighter standing tall in the chaos, rallying the others. He fought like a storm, his eyes burning with a will that no chain could break. Her heart pounded. She remembered Kale, how he once told her that fear was not the end, only the beginning of courage. Ilara, she whispered to herself. Move. She grabbed a fallen chain and swung it hard, striking a guard who lunged toward her. The weight of the chain jolted through her arms, but for the first time in months she felt strong. The world around her was chaos. Fire, shouting, running. Yet inside her chest, something clear and steady grew. She was not worthless. She was not meat. She was human. The fighter reached her, blood on his sleeve, but his smile fierce. You're free now, he said, pulling her toward the broken gate. Ilara stumbled, half running, half carried by the force of his will. Behind them, the camp burned, the sky lit with red flame. The aliens shouted, but the humans pushed forward, refusing to bow. Every step was pain. Every breath was fear. But Ilara clung to a single thought. Kale. If I survive, I can find him. If I survive, I can see him again. The group of prisoners, no, not prisoners anymore, fighters, pushed into the wilderness beyond the camp. The night air smelled of smoke and freedom. They ran until their legs shook and the shouts of guards faded behind them. At last, they stopped in the shelter of broken hills. The fighter dropped to his knees, breathing hard. The others gathered, bloodied but alive. Ilara sat on a rock, her chest heaving. For the first time in so long, the stars stretched above her without bars in the way. She lifted her face and whispered, Kale, are you under these same stars tonight? Her heart ached with distance, but also swelled with hope. If she could escape once, she could do it again. If she could survive tonight, she could survive until the day she saw him. The fighter sat beside her, wiping blood from his face. You did well, he said. I was afraid, she admitted. He nodded. Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about moving anyway. His words echoed Kale's so closely that tears filled her eyes. For the first time since she was captured, Ilara felt like herself again. Not just a victim, not just a slave. A person. A human. And in that moment she knew what she was fighting for. Not just survival, not just freedom, but for the chance to reconnect with the one who had once given her hope. Her chains were gone, but her heart still whispered across the stars, aching for Kale. She looked at the fighter, her voice trembling but steady. They called me worthless, fit only for meat, but you can make me yours, she pleaded. Not in the sense of belonging to chains, but in the sense of belonging to humanity, to the ones who would not give up, to the hope that she would find. Kale again. The hills gave the fugitives shelter, but not safety. Smoke from the burning camp still rose behind them, a reminder of the battle they had survived, and of the enemies who would soon come searching. Ilara sat by a small fire, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her body ached from running. Her skin was bruised, and yet her heart beat with something strange and new. Freedom. She was no longer inside a cage. The air tasted different. The stars looked brighter. But even as she breathed this new life, her heart ached for Kale. She thought of him constantly. She wondered if he was safe, if he was thinking of her too. The distance between them stretched like an endless desert. Sometimes she feared she would never cross it. The fighter, whose name she now learned was Joren, sat across from her, sharpening a piece of metal into a blade. His movements were steady, practiced. He had escaped before. He had fought before. "You're quiet," he said, not looking up. Ilara lowered her eyes. "I'm thinking of someone." Joren paused, then nodded. "Someone important?" "Yes," she whispered. "He was taken far away. I don't even know if he's alive." For a moment the fire crackled between them. Joren's voice was gentle when he answered. "Hold on to that. The thought of someone waiting for you, it can give you strength." Ilara wanted to believe him, but doubt pressed against her heart. What if Kale had forgotten her? What if he had been broken like so many others? The thought made her chest heavy. The next morning, Joren handed her a wooden stick. "Stand," he said. Ilara blinked. "Why?" "Because you need to learn. You can't always hide behind others. If you want to find him, you need to stand on your own feet." She hesitated. Her arms felt weak. She remembered the guards calling her worthless, and for a moment the weight of those words returned, but Joren's eyes were steady. "You survived chains, you survived fire. Don't tell me you can't lift a stick." So she stood. At first her hands trembled as she held the makeshift weapon. Joren showed her how to strike, how to block, how to keep her balance. The stick felt heavy in her hands, but with each swing, her movements grew less clumsy. Her body protested, her muscles burning. Yet deep inside, something unexpected stirred, a fierce determination. Day after day she trained. She stumbled, she fell, but she always rose again. Joren did not let her quit. At night, when the stars came out, she whispered Kale's name into the darkness. "I'm learning," she would murmur. "I'm growing stronger. If you're out there, maybe you'll be proud of me." Her sadness was still there, a constant ache. She still felt the distance like a shadow at her back. But now, hope grew alongside it. Each day she fought, she proved to herself that the guard's words were lies. One evening, Joren tested her again. They sparred with sticks, his movements fast, hers slower but determined. She was breathing hard, sweat on her brow when she managed to block his strike and push him back a step. He grinned. "See? Not worthless." Ilara felt a smile tug at her lips. It was small, but it was real. Later she sat by herself, staring at the sky. The stars shimmered like silver dust scattered across black silk. She remembered Kale's voice telling her that the stars were promises. "Are you looking at them too?" she whispered. "Do you still think of me?" Her chest tightened, but she held on to hope. One day, somehow, she would cross the distance. The next day, their group moved deeper into the hills, searching for a hidden camp where other humans had gathered. The journey was hard, rough paths, little food, endless walking. Yet Ilara pressed on. Each step felt like a step toward Kale. When they finally reached the hidden camp, Ilara's eyes widened. There were dozens of humans there, men, women, even children, living free, planning resistance, refusing to bow. The sight filled her with awe. One of the leaders, a woman with silver hair, looked Ilara over. Another survivor, she said. Good. We need every hand we can get. Alara lowered her head, uncertain. I don't know if I'm strong enough. The woman smiled gently. Strength isn't just in the arms. It's in the will. You're here, aren't you? That's strength. That night, surrounded by others who refused to give up, Alara felt something she had not felt in a long time. Belonging. She still missed Kale. The distance still hurt. But now she believed that finding him was not impossible. Humans had a way of reaching each other, no matter how far. Before she slept, she whispered into the night, her voice steady. They called me worthless, fit only for meat, but you can make me yours, she pleaded. Not to chains, not to despair, but to the hope that one day she would stand before Kale again, not as a broken prisoner, but as someone who had found her strength. The hidden camp was alive with whispers, plans, and quiet determination. Every corner held humans who had escaped chains, and every face carried the same fire. They would not give up. Alara had lived in the camp for weeks now. Her body was stronger, her arms steadier with each day of training. Yet her heart still carried the same ache. At night, when the campfire burned low, she stared at the sky and thought of Kale. Was he alive? Was he searching for her as she searched for him? Or had the distance swallowed their bond forever? The questions gnawed at her, but she refused to let them destroy her hope. One evening, as she trained with Joran, more people gathered to watch. At first, she felt shy under their eyes, worried she would stumble. But when Joran attacked with his stick, her body moved with a strength she had earned. She blocked, stepped forward, and struck with precision. The small crowd clapped softly, some even smiling. One of the younger women whispered, "If she can do it, maybe I can too." Alara's cheeks warmed. She had not meant to inspire anyone. She was still filled with doubts, still longing for Kale. Yet here, among broken people, her survival itself was a spark. The silver-haired leader, Mara, spoke later that night. Do you see what you're doing, Alara? You show others that they can rise too. That's power. That's hope. Alara lowered her head. I'm just trying to stay alive and find someone I lost. Mara smiled. That's exactly why others believe in you. You fight not for glory, but for love, for belonging. People see themselves in you,